Listen to me, the first thing you gotta do if you're serious about this life, if you're serious about going to that next level, is you gotta learn how to silence the doubters and the naysayers. Because I don't care who you are, I don't care what your dream is, the moment you say it out loud, the moment you declare it, the moment you step out and say this is who I am, this is what I'm going after, here come the voices, and it's not always strangers either. Sometimes it's the people you love. Sometimes it's your friends. Sometimes it's your family. Sometimes it's the folks you thought would ride with you until the end. They hear your dream and they don't clap, they laugh, they don't support, they criticize. They don't build you up, they try to tear you down. And if you're not careful, you'll let that noise stop you before you even start. Some of you, you're not failing because you don't have talent. You're not failing because you don't have the ability. You're failing because you're listening to the wrong voices. You're letting people who don't even believe in themselves convince you not to believe in you. You're letting people who quit on their dreams tell you why yours can't work. You're letting people who have never built nothing tell you how to build. And you're sitting there taking advice from somebody who never walked in the shoes you're trying to fill. That's why you're stuck. Not because you don't have it, but because you've been listening to noise instead of your own voice. Let me tell you something. When I started, I heard it all. You'll never make it. Nobody cares what you got to say. You're not good enough. And I could have believed it. I could have let their words define me. I could have let their negativity shape my destiny. But I made up in my mind I wasn't gonna let somebody else write my story. I wasn't gonna let somebody else's opinion become my reality. And some of you, that's the decision you gotta make right now. Stop giving other people that kind of power. Stop letting them sit in the driver's seat of your life. Every time you listen to somebody telling you what you can't do, you're turning down your own volume. You're letting their noise drown out your own vision, and the crazy part is, a lot of them don't even mean harm. They're not evil, they're just scared. They're scared because your dream exposes their fear. They're scared because your hunger reminds them of what they gave up on. And instead of facing their own reflection, it's easier for them to drag you down, so you can't take it personal. You just gotta learn to recognize what's happening, and you gotta make a choice. Are you gonna let their fear kill your dream, or are you gonna kill the noise and keep pushing? Let me break it down. Noise has no power until you give it your attention. A hater can talk all day, but if you don't respond, if you don't feed it, it dies out. Same with doubt, same with negativity. The moment you stop entertaining it, it loses its strength. You can't control the noise, but you can control your focus. And every time you choose focus over noise, every time you choose action over argument, every time you choose your dream over their doubt, you get stronger. I remember being at my lowest, sleeping on floors, broke, feeling like maybe they were right, maybe I wasn't good enough. But even then, I decided I can't afford to let the noise win. If I quit, I prove them right. If I give up, their voice becomes truth. And I couldn't live with that. I had to fight back. And how do you fight? You don't fight by arguing. You don't fight by trying to convince them. You don't fight by wasting your energy proving yourself to people who already made up their mind. You fight by producing, you fight by building, you fight by staying locked in until the results are so loud the noise disappears. Some of you, you've been carrying the weight of somebody's doubt for years. Maybe it was a teacher who told you you'd never be anything. Maybe it was a parent who said you weren't smart enough. Maybe it was a boss who told you you didn't have what it takes. And you've been dragging that voice everywhere you go. It's time to drop it. It's time to let it go. Because the longer you carry it, the heavier it gets. And the heavier it gets, the slower you move. And you can't run after your destiny if you're dragging chains of somebody else's opinion. You gotta kill the noise. Here's what I need you to do. Every single day you wake up, before you step into the world, decide what you're gonna listen to. Decide what voice you're gonna give power to. Because if you don't choose, the noise will choose for you. And trust me, it will always be louder, always be aggressive, always try to take up space in your head. But just because it's loud doesn't mean it's true. Just because they say it doesn't mean you have to live by it. Your dream is yours, your vision is yours, your purpose is yours. Don't you dare hand it over to somebody who never had the courage to chase their own. At the end of the day, silence isn't the absence of noise, it's the presence of focus. And when you learn to create that silence, when you learn to tune out the doubters, you'll hear something else, the sound of your own belief getting louder. And that's the only voice you need. So the next time the noise comes, and trust me it will, don't argue with it, don't entertain it, don't feed it, kill it. Listen to me, the loudest voice you'll ever battle is not your mama, not your daddy, not your teacher, not your boss, not your friends, not the haters on social media. The loudest voice you'll ever face is the one inside your own head, that little voice that creeps in late at night when nobody's around. That little voice that tells you you're not enough, you don't got what it takes. Who do you think you are trying to chase that dream? You're not qualified, you're gonna fail, you're gonna embarrass yourself. That voice is dangerous because it knows your weaknesses better than anybody else. It knows your fears, it knows your insecurities, it knows every mistake you ever made, every time you ever fell short. And it uses that against you to try and convince you to quit before you even start. Some of you not losing because of what's outside of you. You losing because of what's inside of you. You keep sabotaging yourself because you keep believing that inner critic. You keep letting it talk you out of opportunities. You keep letting it paralyze you before you even take the shot. You keep replaying all the failures in your mind instead of focusing on the lessons you learned from them. And until you learn to shut that voice down, until you learn to starve it and stop feeding it your energy, you will always find yourself stuck in the same place. I need you to hear me. Failure is not final. Mistakes are not the end of the story. Falling short doesn't mean you're not worthy. But the critic inside your head will try to twist it. It'll try to make you believe that every time you lose, it proves you don't deserve to win. That every time you stumble, it proves you'll never rise, and the truth is the exact opposite. Every stumble, every loss, every moment of pain is proof you're in the game. It's proof you're still swinging, still fighting, still pushing. The critic wants you to sit down and shut up. But champions know the only way to silence that critic is to keep showing up. I remember nights when that voice told me, you should quit. Nobody cares. Nobody's listening. You're wasting your time. And I'd have to fight it. I'd have to remind myself of the bigger picture. I had to speak back to the voice and say, you don't get to define me. You don't get the final say. I'm not done yet. And that's what some of you need to do. Stop letting that inner critic speak unchecked. Stop letting it talk all day without a response. You gotta fight back with affirmations. You gotta fight back with action. You gotta fight back with consistency. When the voice says you're not good enough, you get up anyway and you go do the work. When the voice says you're gonna fail, you remind yourself failing forward is better than standing still. When the voice says you should quit, you shout back, I've come too far to give up now. The difference between people who make it and people who don't is not that the successful ones never hear that voice. Don't get it twisted, they hear it too, they feel the fear too, but the difference is they don't bow to it. They don't let it dictate their decisions. They act in spite of it. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to move forward even when the fear is screaming. Some of you got big dreams, but your inner critic is louder than your ambition. And you've been feeding it for years, feeding it with doubt, feeding it with excuses, feeding it with procrastination. And as long as you keep feeding it, it's gonna keep growing. But the moment you start starving it, the moment you stop giving it your attention, the moment you stop repeating its lies to yourself, it starts shrinking. And eventually your belief gets louder than your doubt, your faith gets louder than your fear, your purpose gets louder than your insecurity. I know some of you are tired. I know some of you feel like you've been fighting this battle in your head for too long. But let me tell you, it's worth it. Because the moment you kill that inner critic, the moment you silence it, that's when you unlock who you really are. That's when you discover your full potential. That's when you stop living small and start living big. And that's when you finally realize the truth that the voice that's been holding you back this whole time wasn't the world, wasn't the haters, wasn't the people who doubted you. It was you, and if you can get out of your own way, there's nothing in this world that can stop you. So don't let that inner critic write your story. Don't let it be the narrator of your life. Take the pen back and write the story of resilience, of discipline, of persistence, of victory. And every time that voice rises up, remind it, I am more than enough. I am built for this. And I will not stop until I get what I came for. The voice in your head doesn't get the final word. You do. You gotta understand something. Focus is not optional if you want to win. Focus is survival. Some of you are out here treating your dream like it's a hobby, like it's a side hustle, like it's a game. But the truth is your dream requires a level of focus like your life depends on it. Because it does. Every single day you spend distracted is another day stolen from your destiny. Every hour you waste on noise, on drama, on scrolling, on things that don't add value, that's an hour you can't get back. In time, once it's gone forever. The reason some of you can't get traction in your life is not because you don't have talent. It's not because you don't have resources. It's because you can't lock in. You're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You start something, then you stop. You get excited, then you lose interest. You say you want it, but the moment distraction knocks on your door, you open it and let it in. And every distraction you entertain is a thief. It robs you of your progress. It robs you of your energy. It robs you of your focus. Let me tell you something real. Successful people aren't always the smartest. They're not always the most talented, but they have mastered focus. They know how to lock in when everybody else is playing. They know how to say no when everybody else is saying yes. They know how to tune out the noise, the negativity, the unnecessary, and put every ounce of their energy into what matters. That's what separates the winners from the rest. It's not ability, it's discipline. Think about an athlete preparing for the biggest game of their life. You think they're out partying the night before. You think they're wasting time watching shows, hanging around people who aren't going where they're going. No, they're locked in. They're studying film. They're practicing. They're resting. They're eating right because they know that focus today determines the results tomorrow. And it's the same with you. You say you want success. You say you want to be great. You say you want to hit millionaire status, but your daily focus doesn't match your dream. Focus is about alignment. It's making sure your habits line up with your vision. If your goal is to build wealth, then scrolling social media for 4 hours a night ain't it? If your goal is to be in the best shape of your life, then skipping workouts and eating whatever you want ain't it? If your goal is to build a business, then spending your weekends doing everything but working on your craft ain't it? Stop saying you want something that your focus won't pay for. Some of you are frustrated because you keep asking for results that you haven't locked in enough to earn. You want the harvest, but you keep getting distracted during planting season. You want the reward, but you won't give it the attention it requires. You gotta understand, what you focus on grows and what you neglect dies. If you keep focusing on distractions, they'll grow until they consume your whole life. But if you lock in on your dream, if you feed it with energy, discipline, and consistency, it will grow until it becomes your reality. And don't get it twisted, focus is not easy. Everything in this world is designed to steal it. Every notification, every post, every drama, filled conversation, every distraction is fighting for your attention. But you gotta decide who's gonna win, the noise or your purpose. The distraction or your destiny. You can't serve both. You can't focus on everything and expect to be great at anything. You gotta choose. I remember seasons of my life where I had to shut everything out. I had to cut off television. I had to limit my conversations. I had to walk away from certain people. Not because I didn't love them, but because I loved my dream too much to keep letting it suffer. Some of you need to do the same. You're too available to everybody else, too plugged into everything else, and not available enough to your own future. You gotta learn to say no. No to the parties, no to the gossip, no to the wasted time, no to the people who keep pulling you off track. Every no you say to distraction is a yes to your destiny. When you focus like your life depends on it, you start moving different. You start waking up earlier. You start using your time wiser. You stop wasting energy on people who don't add value. You stop chasing things that don't align with your vision. You start living intentional. And when you live intentional long enough, you start producing results. That's when people look at you like, how did you do it? How did you get there? And the answer is simple, I locked in. While you were distracted, I was focused. While you were playing, I was working. While you were talking, I was building. You can't halfway your way into greatness. You can't casually pursue success. You either focus or you fail. It's as simple as that. The world is full of people with potential who never became what they could have been. Not because they didn't have the gift, but because they didn't have the focus to cultivate it. Don't let that be you. Don't let distraction write your story. Don't let noise dictate your future. So hear me when I say this lock-in. Eliminate the distractions, kill the noise, and focus like your life depends on it. Because it does, you don't need to clap back. You don't need to argue. You don't need to explain yourself to everybody who doesn't believe in you. You don't need to waste your energy trying to convince people who already made up their mind about you. Let me tell you, the most powerful response you can ever give to doubt, to hate, to criticism, to noise, is results. Stop talking about it. Stop debating about it. Stop crying about it and just produce. Because when your results show up, they speak a language louder than any opinion, louder than any critic, louder than any excuse. The problem with some of you is you're giving too much time to people who don't even deserve to be in your conversation. You're burning energy trying to defend your dream to somebody who never had the courage to chase their own. You're explaining yourself to somebody who's not even qualified to speak on your vision. That's wasted effort. Every second you spend arguing with them is a second you could have spent building. Every minute you spend defending yourself is a minute you could have spent grinding. And the reality is, nobody's gonna remember what you said in that argument 5 years from now. But they will remember what you built. They will remember what you produced. You gotta understand success makes noise all by itself. You don't have to post about it every second. You don't have to broadcast every move. Just work. Just lock in. Just stay consistent. Because when you get the degree, when you build the business, when you buy the house, when you achieve the thing they said you couldn't achieve, that becomes the answer. And the beautiful thing about results is they shut everybody up. Even your enemies can't argue with your fruit. They may not like you, they may not support you, they may still doubt you in their heart, but they cannot deny what you produced with your hands. I remember when they told me I wasn't gonna make it. They told me I wasn't cut out for it. They told me I wasn't enough. I could have argued with them. I could have gotten bitter. I could have wasted time trying to convince them. But instead, I got quiet. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped trying to make them see what I saw. I said, okay, cool, you'll see it when I show you. And I went to work, and now the same people who told me it was impossible, they gotta sit there and watch the results. That's the sweetest response you could ever give, not your words, your success. Some of you got people waiting for you to fail. They're watching, hoping you'll slip so they can say, see, I told you. And that's why you gotta move different. That's why you can't take shortcuts. That's why you can't play around. That's why you can't give up, because you're not just fighting for your dream. You're fighting to prove every doubt wrong. And not by arguing, not by clapping back, but by producing results so undeniable that even the people who don't like you gotta respect you. And hear me, results aren't just for them. Results are for you too. Results are the evidence that you didn't waste your time. Results are the proof that your sacrifice wasn't in vain. Results are the reminder that all those early mornings, all those late nights, all those moments when you wanted to quit but didn't, it was worth it. When you see the results, it gives you the confidence to keep going. It silences not only the outside noise, but also the inside noise. Because now, when that inner critic tries to tell you you can't, you can look back at what you've already done and say, I already did. Let me make it plain. Stop talking so much. Stop trying to prove yourself with your mouth. Start proving yourself with your grind. Start proving yourself with your consistency. Start proving yourself with your discipline. Because at the end of the day, the scoreboard doesn't lie. The bank account doesn't lie. The degree doesn't lie. The finished product doesn't lie. That's your defense. That's your testimony. That's your evidence. So the next time somebody doubts you, don't get mad, don't get emotional, don't waste your breath. Just smile and keep grinding. Because one day the same people who said you couldn't will be asking you how you did it, and you won't even need to answer. All you'll have to do is point to the results. Let your grind speak. Let your discipline speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your results be the loudest voice in the room, because results don't just kill the noise, they bury it.